He came home after a 16-hour shift and froze. His billionaire self was standing in his kitchen, washing his dishes. As anger exploded and voices rose, his little daughter walked in and said something that made the powerful woman collapse to the floor in tears. What happened next changed their lives forever. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments what time it is and where you're watching from. Let's start. Ryan Mitchell dragged his feet up the apartment stairs. Every step hurt. His back ached. His hands were covered in cuts from moving heavy boxes all day. 16 hours. That's how long he worked today. Again, he fumbled with his keys at the door. His fingers were so tired they wouldn't work right. Finally, the lock clicked. He pushed the door open and froze. Someone was in his kitchen. A woman stood at his sink, washing dishes. She wore an expensive gray suit that probably cost more than Ryan made in a month. Her dark hair was pulled back perfectly. Diamond earrings caught the light. Ryan's heart pounded. Was he being robbed? By someone in a designer suit? Then she turned around. Ryan's mouth fell open. Victoria Hayes, his boss. Not just any boss, the boss of the entire company. The CEO of Hayes Industries. The woman whose face was on magazine covers. The woman who lived in a mansion across town. She was washing his dishes. "Hello, Ryan," Victoria said quietly. Her voice shook a little. I let myself in. I'm sorry. I know this is strange." Strange? This was impossible. Crazy. Like finding the president doing your laundry. "What are you doing here?" Ryan asked. He couldn't move from the doorway. His brain couldn't understand what his eyes were seeing. Victoria dried her hands on a towel. Ryan noticed her hands were shaking. "I needed to see you, to see how you really live. And I needed to tell you the truth before I lost my courage." "The truth about what?" Victoria took a deep breath. "About what's been happening to you. About why you work 16-hour days, but barely have enough money for food. About why you never see your daughter." Ryan felt cold suddenly. "How do you know about Emma?" "I know everything now," Victoria said. Her eyes looked red, like she'd been crying. "And I'm so sorry." Before Ryan could ask more questions, a small voice came from the hallway. "Daddy." Emma appeared in her pink pajamas, rubbing her eyes. She was 7 years old with curly brown hair and her mother's smile. Her mother who had died 3 years ago. Her mother who Ryan still missed every single day. "Sweetheart, go back to bed," Ryan said gently. But Emma saw Victoria, and her eyes went wide. "Who's that pretty lady?" Victoria knelt down so she was at Emma's level. "Hi, Emma. My name is Victoria. I work with your daddy." "You're very pretty," Emma said. "And you smell nice, like flowers." Victoria smiled, but tears filled her eyes. "Thank you, sweetie. You're very pretty, too. Are you here to bring my daddy home earlier?" Emma asked. Her voice was so full of hope it made Ryan's chest hurt. "He's always at work. I miss him." Victoria's face crumpled. A tear rolled down her cheek. "Yes," she whispered. "That's exactly why I'm here." Ryan scooped Emma up. "Baby, let's get you back to bed. The grown-ups need to talk." "But I want to stay," Emma protested. "I'll be right here when you wake up," Ryan promised. "I promise." He carried Emma back to her small bedroom. The room was tiny, with cracks in the walls that Ryan couldn't afford to fix. Emma's bed was pushed against the window. On the wall were drawings she'd made, butterflies, rainbows, stick figures of her and Ryan holding hands. "Daddy," Emma whispered as he tucked her in. "Yes, baby? Is that lady going to help us?" Ryan didn't know what to say. "I don't know yet." "She has sad eyes," Emma said wisely, like she knows what sad feels like. Kids saw things adults missed. "You're very smart, Emma Bear. I drew you something today," Emma said, pointing to her desk. "For when you're at work and miss me." Ryan walked over and picked up the paper. It was a butterfly, yellow and orange and bright. At the bottom, in Emma's messy writing, it said, "For Daddy, love makes you fly." Something broke inside Ryan's chest. When was the last time he'd helped Emma with homework? When was the last time they'd had breakfast together? When was the last time he'd been awake enough to really talk to her? It's beautiful, sweetheart, Ryan said, his voice thick. I'll keep it forever. Promise? Promise. He kissed her forehead and turned off the light. When he returned to the kitchen, Victoria was sitting at his small table. She'd made tea. 2 cups sat steaming on the chipped surface. Ryan sat down across from her. Start talking. Victoria wrapped her hands around her cup. Do you know a man named Derek Thompson? Ryan's jaw tightened. My supervisor. He's been stealing from you, Victoria said flatly. For 2 years, he's been changing your timesheets, cutting your hours, marking you late when you weren't, giving you the worst shifts, the hardest jobs, the longest days. And he's been taking the money for himself. Ryan stared at her. What? You should be making twice what you're making, Victoria continued. Her voice was hard now, angry. You should have had 3 promotions by now. You're one of the best workers we have. But Derek buried every good review. He made sure you stayed at the bottom while he took bonuses for cutting costs. Ryan's hands curled into fists. Why? Because I built a system that let him, Victoria said. The words came out like broken glass. I was so focused on profits, on stock prices, on making shareholders happy, that I never looked at how my managers were treating people. I trusted the numbers they gave me. I never asked if those numbers were real. You're the CEO, Ryan said. Anger was building in his chest, hot and huge. You could have stopped this. Yes, Victoria said simply. I could have. I should have. And I didn't. That's why I'm here. So you can feel better about yourself? Ryan stood up. His chair scraped loudly. You come to my home, meet my daughter, say you're sorry, and then what? Go back to your mansion? Nothing changes. Everything changes, Victoria said. She stood too. I fired Derek today. I've ordered a complete audit of every department, every employee's pay, every timesheet, every review. I'm hiring an outside company to investigate. No more hiding. No more lies. And I'm supposed to believe you? Ryan's voice rose. You're the boss. You probably knew all along. Daddy. Emma's small voice came from the hallway again. Ryan spun around. Emma stood there in her pajamas, holding her butterfly drawing. Tears ran down her face. Don't yell, Emma whispered. Please don't yell. Ryan's anger melted instantly. He rushed to Emma and picked her up. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. Emma hugged his neck tight. Then she held out her butterfly, drawing to Victoria. Here, Emma said. You need this more than Daddy. You have the saddest eyes. Victoria took the paper with shaking hands. She looked at the words. Love makes you fly. And then Victoria Hayes, the powerful CEO, the woman on magazine covers, the woman who controlled millions of dollars, sat down on Ryan's floor and cried. Not pretty crying. Real crying. The kind that came from somewhere deep and hurt. Emma wiggled out of Ryan's arms. She walked over to Victoria and patted her head, the way Ryan patted Emma's head when she was sad. It's okay, Emma said softly. Everybody makes mistakes. Daddy says what matters is if you fix them. Victoria looked up at Emma, then at Ryan. I want to fix this, Victoria said. Her voice was raw. Please, let me try. Ryan looked at his daughter, at the butterfly drawing, at the woman crying on his kitchen floor. And he thought maybe, just maybe, something impossible was about to happen. Okay, Ryan said quietly. Let's talk. After Emma finally fell asleep for real this time, Ryan and Victoria sat at the kitchen table. The clock on the wall said 11:47 p.m. Ryan had to be at work in 6 hours. But for once, he didn't care. Victoria pulled out a folder from her briefcase. It was thick with papers. This is everything, she said. Every lie Derek told. Every dollar he stole. Not just from you. From 43 other workers, too. Ryan's stomach dropped. 43? Single parents mostly, Victoria said, her voice tight. People who couldn't complain because they were afraid of losing their jobs. People who needed every penny just to survive. She pushed the folder toward him. Derek made an extra $200,000 over 3 years. while you ate ramen noodles and couldn't buy Emma new shoes. Ryan opened the folder. His hands shook as he looked at the papers. There were his timesheets, the real ones and the fake ones Derek had submitted, hours crossed out, days marked wrong. Reviews that said excellent changed to acceptable. I worked 70 hours last week, Ryan whispered, pointing at one sheet. But this says 40. I know. I got Employee of the Month twice, but there's no record of it. I know. Ryan slammed the folder shut. How could you not know? You're in charge. Victoria didn't look away. Because I didn't want to know. I looked at reports that said costs were down and profits were up, and I didn't ask questions. I thought being a good CEO meant making money. I was wrong. People like me were suffering, Ryan said, while you got rich. Yes. Victoria's voice cracked, and I can't take that back. I can only try to make it right going forward. How? Ryan demanded. You can't give me back the birthdays I missed. The bedtime stories I was too tired to read. The school plays I couldn't go to because I was working. No, Victoria agreed. I can't, but I can give you back your money. And your future. She pulled out another paper. This is what you're actually owed. $58,000 in back pay, plus $32,000 in bonuses you never got. That's $90,000, Ryan. Ryan couldn't breathe. $90,000? That was enough to fix his car, buy Emma new clothes, pay off his debts, maybe even move to a better apartment. There's more, Victoria said. She slid another paper across the table. This is a job offer. Senior Operations Manager. $55,000 a year. Full benefits. Health insurance. Dental. Paid vacation. And normal hours. 40 hours a week, not 70. Ryan stared at the numbers. They look fake. Like a dream. Why? He asked. Why would you do this? Victoria looked at Emma's butterfly drawing, still in her hand. Because that little girl deserves a father who comes home. And because you deserve to be treated like a human being, not a machine. But you barely know me. I've read every report about you, Victoria said. You're never late. You never complain. You work harder than anyone else. And when other workers needed help, you helped them even though you were exhausted. You're exactly the kind of person I should have been promoting, not punishing. Ryan wanted to believe her, but he'd been disappointed too many times. What if this is just for show? What if you give me this job and then fire me in 3 months when people stop paying attention? Then you'd have legal grounds to sue me, Victoria said simply. And you'd win. I'm putting everything in writing. I'm also creating an anonymous reporting system, so if any manager tries what Derek did, employees can report them without fear. And I'm hiring an independent board to review complaints. Not company people, real outside investigators. That sounds expensive, Ryan said. It is, Victoria agreed. I've already had 3 board members call me crazy. They said I'm wasting money and scaring good managers. But they're wrong. Good managers don't steal. Good managers don't abuse people. And if they're scared of accountability, they shouldn't be managers. Ryan rubbed his face. He was so tired. Too tired to think clearly. I need time. Of course, Victoria said. Take all the time you need. I mean real time, Ryan said. Not decide by tomorrow or the offer disappears time. Victoria stood up. She looked small somehow, even though she was tall. Vulnerable. Take a week. A month. However long you need. The job will be waiting. And regardless of whether you take it, you're getting your back pay. That's not conditional. That money is yours. She walked to the door, then stopped. Ryan, can I ask you something? What? When Emma gave me that drawing, why didn't you tell her not to? It was yours. Ryan thought about that. Because she saw something I didn't. She saw someone who needed help. Victoria's eyes filled with tears again. She's special. Yeah, Ryan said softly. She is. After Victoria left, Ryan couldn't sleep. He sat at the table, reading the papers over and over. $90,000. A real job. Normal hours. Could it be real? At 6 a.m., Emma bounced into the kitchen. Morning, Daddy. Ryan smiled despite his exhaustion. Morning, sunshine. Is the pretty lady coming back? I don't know, Ryan said honestly. I hope so, Emma said. She poured herself cereal. The cheap kind that Ryan could afford, not the kind with the fun shapes. I liked her. Why? Emma thought about it, chewing slowly. Because she listened, and because she cried when I talked about missing you. That means she cares. Kids were so much smarter than adults gave them credit for. Ryan's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Victoria. I wanted to invite you and Emma to dinner this Friday. No business talk. Just a chance to get to know each other as people. Only if you're comfortable. Wait. Ryan stared at the message. This was weird. CEOs didn't have dinner with warehouse workers. What was she doing? What's wrong, Daddy? Emma asked. Victoria invited us to dinner, Ryan said. Emma's face lit up. Really? Can we go? Please. Ryan looked at his daughter's hopeful expression. When was the last time they'd eaten somewhere nice? When was the last time Emma had gotten excited about something? He typed back, okay, but somewhere Emma-friendly. No fancy restaurants where she can't be a kid. Victoria's response came immediately. How about pizza? I know a place with an arcade. Ryan smiled. Deal. Friday night came too fast. Ryan borrowed his neighbor's car because his own was making a terrible noise. He dressed Emma in her best dress, which was too small but still cute. He wore the only button-down shirt he owned that didn't have stains. Victoria met them at the restaurant. She wore jeans, actual jeans, and a simple blue sweater. No fancy jewelry. No designer clothes. She looked normal. Hi, Emma said, running up to hug Victoria. Victoria looked surprised but hugged her back. Hi, sweetie. You look beautiful. Daddy let me pick my dress, Emma said proudly. They got a booth. Emma ordered pepperoni pizza and didn't stop talking. She told Victoria about school, her teacher, Miss Patterson, her best friend Zoe, and the book she was reading about dolphins. Victoria listened to every word. She asked questions. She laughed at Emma's jokes. She didn't check her phone once. Ryan watched, amazed. This wasn't CEO Victoria. This was just Victoria, a person. After dinner, Victoria gave Emma quarters for the arcade. Emma ran off to play skee ball, and Ryan and Victoria were alone. Thank you, Ryan said quietly. For what? For caring about her. You didn't have to do this. Victoria watched Emma through the arcade window. My mother was a single parent, she said suddenly. She worked 3 jobs. I barely saw her. And when she died, I realized I'd been so busy climbing the corporate ladder that I'd forgotten what it was like to struggle. She turned to Ryan. Emma reminds me of me, and you remind me of my mom. I don't want Emma to grow up feeling abandoned. She won't, Ryan said. I'll make sure of it. I know you will, Victoria said. But maybe you don't have to do it alone. Ryan looked at her, really looked at her. Behind the CEO, behind the power and money, was just a woman who was lonely and tired and tried to do better. I'll take the job, Ryan said. Victoria's breath caught. Really, on one condition, Ryan said. If you ever go back on your promises, if you start treating people like numbers again, I'll quit, and I'll tell everyone why. Deal, Victoria said immediately. She held out her hand. Ryan shook it. Her hand was soft, but her grip was strong. Emma came running back, out of quarters and grinning. I won a prize. She held up a tiny stuffed butterfly. Look, just like my drawing. She handed it to Victoria. This is for you. So you remember that love makes you fly. Victoria took the butterfly. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but she was smiling. I'll keep it forever. As they walked to the parking lot, Emma held both their hands, Ryan's on one side, Victoria's on the other. And for the first time in 3 years, Ryan felt something he'd almost forgotten. Hope. 3 months later, Ryan walked through the doors of Hayes Industries wearing a clean suit and carrying a briefcase. His briefcase for his office. His actual office with a window and everything. It still felt like a dream. "Morning, Mr. Mitchell," the security guard called. "Morning, Pete," Ryan said, grinning. He still wasn't used to people calling him Mr. Mitchell. His office was on the 4th floor. It had a desk, a computer, and a picture Emma had drawn of the three of them, Ryan, Emma, and Victoria, holding hands under a rainbow. Victoria had one just like it in her office upstairs. Things had changed fast. Really fast. The first thing Victoria did was give back pay to all 43 workers Derek had stolen from. Some people cried when they got their checks. One woman, Maria, told Ryan she could finally afford her son's medicine. Another man, James, said he could fix his car and stop taking 3 buses to work. Then Victoria fired 4 other managers who had been doing the same thing as Derek. She didn't just fire them. She reported them to the authorities. 2 of them were arrested. The company put up signs everywhere. "Report abuse anonymously. We will listen. We will act." And they did. Over 3 months, 27 reports came in. Some were about stolen wages. Some were about managers being cruel or unfair. Some were about safety problems that had been ignored. Victoria investigated every single one. She also did something crazy. She gave her own salary away. Half of it went to create a fund for workers who were struggling. The other half went to hire more people so nobody had to work 70-hour weeks anymore. The board of directors was furious. 3 of them quit, but Victoria didn't care. "If they care more about money than people," she told Ryan, "then I don't want them here." Ryan's new job was hard but different. He helped organize the warehouses better. He made schedules fair. He listened when workers had problems. And every day at 5 p.m., he went home. Home to Emma. Emma was different now, too. She smiled more. She didn't cry when Ryan left for work anymore because she knew he'd be home for dinner. They did homework together. They watched movies. They went to the park on weekends. And sometimes Victoria came with them. It started small. Victoria would stop by to drop off papers for Ryan to sign. But then she'd stay for dinner. Then she'd help Emma with her math homework. Then she'd tuck Emma in and read her a bedtime story. Emma started calling her Miss V. Ryan didn't know when it happened, but one day he realized he was falling in love with Victoria. Real love, not because she was rich or powerful, but because of who she was when she was with them. She was kind. She was funny. She listened. She cared. One night, after Emma was asleep, Ryan and Victoria sat on the couch. They'd moved to a new apartment, bigger, with 2 bedrooms and walls without cracks. Victoria had helped them move. "Can I ask you something?" Ryan said. "Always," Victoria replied. "Why did you really come to my apartment that night?" "The truth." Victoria was quiet for a long time. "I got a letter," she finally said, "from a worker who'd been at the company for 20 years. He said he'd watched me change from someone who cared to someone who only cared about money. He said I'd become the kind of boss people feared instead of respected. And then he said something that broke me." "What?" "He said, 'You've forgotten what it means to be human.'" Victoria's voice shook. I realized he was right. I'd built this entire company, but lost myself doing it. So I started investigating. I found Derek. I found your file. And when I saw that you were a single father working yourself to death while your daughter missed you, she wiped her eyes. I saw my mother. I saw myself as a kid, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. Ryan took her hand. "You changed everything." "We changed everything," Victoria corrected. "You trusted me when you had no reason to. You gave me a chance to be better." "Emma gave you a chance," Ryan said. "I was just angry." Victoria laughed. "That little girl is wiser than both of us." As if on cue, Emma's voice called from her bedroom. "Miss V, can you come here?" Victoria went to Emma's room. Ryan followed. Emma was sitting up in bed, holding the stuffed butterfly from the arcade. "What's wrong, sweetie?" Victoria asked. "Nothing's wrong," Emma said. "I just wanted to ask you something." "What is it?" Emma looked at Ryan, then at Victoria. "Are you going to be my new mommy?" Ryan's heart stopped. Victoria froze. "Emma?" Ryan started, but Victoria held up her hand. She sat on Emma's bed and took the little girl's hands. "Would you want me to be?" Yes, Emma said simply. You make Daddy happy. And you make me happy. And Mommy would want Daddy to be happy again. Victoria's tears came fast. Your mommy must have been amazing. She was, Emma said, but she's in heaven now. And Daddy says heaven is where you go when your job on earth is done. I think Mommy's job was to give me to Daddy. And maybe your job is to help take care of us. Ryan couldn't speak. His throat was too tight. Victoria pulled Emma into a hug. I would be honored, she whispered. So honored. Emma hugged her back. Good, because I already drew you into all my pictures. After Emma fell asleep, Ryan and Victoria stood in the hallway, holding each other. I love you, Victoria said. I know it's fast and crazy, but I do. I love you too, Ryan said. You're the bravest person I know. I'm terrified, Victoria admitted. I'm terrified I'll mess this up, that I'll hurt you or Emma, that I'll go back to being who I was. Then we'll remind you, Ryan said. We'll keep you human. Victoria smiled through her tears. Deal. 6 months later, the changes at Hayes Industries were national news. Other companies started copying Victoria's model. Anonymous reporting systems, independent review boards, fair wages, real accountability. Victoria was invited to speak at conferences. She told the story of Derek, of Ryan, of Emma's butterfly drawing. She told CEOs that profit without humanity was poison. Some people listened, some didn't, but more and more workers stood up and demanded better treatment. And slowly, things began to change. Ryan was promoted again, director of operations. He hired more single parents and people who'd been overlooked. He made sure everyone got fair shifts and real recognition. And every night, he went home to Emma and Victoria. They became a family. Not perfect, but real. They had movie nights and game nights. They went on vacations. Emma taught Victoria how to make friendship bracelets. Victoria taught Emma about butterflies, real ones, not just drawings. On Emma's 8th birthday, Victoria and Ryan got married in a small ceremony. Emma was the flower girl and the ring bearer and the most important person there. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Emma raised her hand. Everyone laughed nervously. Emma, the officiant said. I don't object, Emma said seriously. I just want to say something. Go ahead, sweetie, Victoria said. Emma pulled out a piece of paper. It was worn and creased. The original butterfly drawing, the one she'd given Victoria that first night. This butterfly was for when people were sad, Emma said. But we're not sad anymore. We're happy. So I made a new one. She held up a new drawing. This one had 3 butterflies. One big, one medium, one small, all flying together. Love makes you fly. Emma read from the bottom. But family makes you fly higher. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. That drawing went on the wall in their new house. A real house with a yard where Emma could play. Next to it, Victoria framed the original butterfly drawing with a plaque that said, This is where everything changed. Because it had. One kitchen conversation. One crying CO. One little girl's wisdom. And everything changed, not just for Ryan and Emma and Victoria, but for hundreds of workers who finally got treated fairly. For other companies that started to care about people, not just profits. For everyone who learned that it's never too late to choose humanity over greed. A message from Ryan, Victoria, and Emma. If the story touched your heart, we want you to know something important. This can be your story too. Maybe you're like Ryan, working too hard, getting paid too little, and missing the people you love. You deserve better. Don't be afraid to speak up. Report unfair treatment. Demand what you're owed. You have more power than you think. Maybe you're like Victoria, successful on the outside but hollow on the inside, realizing that you've lost your way. It's not too late to change. Start asking questions. Look at the real people behind the numbers. Choose humanity over profit. Yes, some people will think you're crazy, but the right people will think you're brave. Or maybe you're like Emma, watching someone you love suffer and wondering if anything will ever get better. Keep hoping. Keep believing. Keep loving. Your voice matters more than you know. Sometimes the smallest person in the room has the biggest impact. Here's what you can do today. If you're being treated unfairly at work, document everything. Save your timesheets, emails, and reviews. Report to HR or anonymous hotlines. Contact labor organizations. You are not alone, and you deserve justice if you're a manager or business owner. Look at your workers. Really look at them. Are they thriving or just surviving? Create ways for people to report problems safely. Listen when they speak. Be Victoria, not Derek. Share the story. Send it to someone who needs hope. Post it where someone in power might see it. Let it start conversations about how we treat each other at work and at home. Love the people in your life while you can. Don't wait for a crisis to show up in someone's kitchen. Be present. Be kind. Be human. Remember, every big change starts with one person deciding that enough is enough. Ryan decided to trust again. Victoria decided to care again. Emma decided to love without fear. What will you decide? The butterfly is waiting. It's time to fly. If this story inspired you, please share it with someone who needs to read it today. Together, we can build workplaces and families where everyone is treated with dignity, respect, and love.